then returned because they grabbed the wrong guy. Police didn't believe a word until another boy vanished the exact same way. This story is so insane it sounds made up. Before we continue, let me take this opportunity to thank you so much for supporting our channel. Just choosing to watch our video means a lot to us. Before we go any further, tell us where are you watching from. Drop your city or country below. And don't forget to like and subscribe if this is your first time here. Elias Moore always walked the same route to his car after work. That routine was the one constant in his life. Same time, same path, same dim parking lot lit by the flickering yellow streetlights behind his office building. Elias was not a risk taker. He measured everything. Double-checked plans. Triple-checked deadlines. He lived in a rigid structure of predictability, the kind of man who found comfort in certainty. But the night of July 14th would be the last night anything in his life made sense. He had been the last person to leave the office. His coworkers had gone home hours earlier, leaving the building unsettlingly silent. Elias didn't usually stay this late, but the company was halfway through a system overhaul, and he'd been responsible for debugging a new security module. He wanted it perfect. He needed it perfect. His mind replayed lines of code as he locked the office door and stepped into the quiet hallway. While walking to the lobby, he called his sister, Mia. She answered on the second ring. "You're still at work?" she asked, half annoyed, half worried. "Last day of the project," he replied. "Just heading out now. I'll text you when I get home." "Don't forget," she said, "or I'll assume you died in that building." "Drama queen," he muttered with a small laugh. He ended the call as the elevator dinged open. Elias stepped inside, rubbing his tired eyes. He didn't see the shadowy figure pressed against the wall near the staircase doorway, watching him, waiting. When the elevator doors opened to the lobby, everything felt too quiet. No security guard at the desk. No cleaning crew. Just stillness. Elias shrugged it off. Maybe they were on break. He scanned his ID card at the exit and stepped into the warm, humid night air. His glasses fogged slightly. He adjusted them, squinting toward the parking lot. His car was the fourth one on the right, a silver sedan he'd owned for 8 years, reliable and boring, just like him. He reached into his pocket for his keys, feeling that faint comfort of routine settle in. He never made it to the car. A white van rolled silently from behind the maintenance shed, headlights off. By the time Elias noticed, it was already too late. A door slid open and 2 masked figures rushed him. One grabbed his arms, the other smothered a cloth over his mouth. He felt a sharp sting in his neck. A burning sensation. Then, darkness swallowed everything. He didn't know how long he was unconscious, but he woke up to suffocating blackness. A fabric hood covered his head, and his wrists were bound tightly behind him with some kind of plastic zip tie. He heard the hum of an engine beneath him. The floor vibrated. The air smelled like gasoline and cheap cologne. Voices echoed around him, muffled at first, then sharper as he regained clarity. "This isn't him," someone whispered harshly. "Idiot! You grabbed the wrong guy." Another voice, deeper and angrier, snapped back. "He was wearing the same damn jacket." "How was I supposed to know? He's older. He's the same height, same build." The van lurched to a stop. Elias rolled sideways on the metal floor, hitting his shoulder against a crate. He wanted to scream, but fear froze his throat. He tried to speak, but the hood choked his words. "Please, please let me go." A fist slammed into his ribs. "Shut up," Elias gasped, pain slicing through his side. He tasted blood in his mouth. He heard footsteps as someone leaned over him and whispered directly in his ear. "You're lucky, real lucky." The van door slid open, and cold night air rushed in. Hands grabbed him, dragging him out onto gravel. His shoes scraped against the ground. Someone cut the binds around his wrists and shoved him hard. "Run," the voice hissed. "And don't look back." Elias ripped the hood off, stumbling onto the wet pavement. He blinked against the harsh moonlight. The white van's engine roared, the tires screeched, and it sped away, without headlights, without hesitation, vanishing into the night. He stood there, barefoot, trembling, wearing a jacket that wasn't his. The marina looked abandoned. Boats swayed silently. The water slapped rhythmically against the docks. Elias couldn't think straight. His entire body felt heavy, sluggish. Whatever they injected him with was still in his bloodstream. He staggered toward the road and collapsed near a streetlight, dizzy and shivering. He fumbled for a phone in the jacket pocket. Miraculously, there was one. He dialed 911. "Help," he whispered. "I was kidnapped. They took me. They put me back." The dispatcher pressed him for details, but his words slurred. The drug numbed his mind. He couldn't form coherent sentences. He kept repeating the same 3 phrases. "They took me. They put me back. They thought I was someone else." When police arrived, Elias was curled on the pavement, shaking. Officers exchanged confused glances. His story was fragmented. Bizarre, almost unbelievable. At the station, under harsh fluorescent lights, Elias tried to explain, but his voice cracked with fear. He described the van, the voices, the mistake, but officers were clearly skeptical. "You're saying they kidnapped you because they thought you were someone else?" an officer asked, eyebrow raised. "Yes," Elias insisted. "They said I wasn't the right person. They tied me up. They put a bag over my head. And then they just let you go?" Elias nodded. An officer leaned back in his chair and sighed. "Sir, none of this makes sense. They asked if he used drugs, if he drank that night, if he had mental health issues, if he fabricated the story. He denied everything, but his denial meant nothing, because his story simply sounded too insane to be real. They took his statement reluctantly, then drove him home." Elias sat on his couch, staring blankly at the wall, replaying every sound, every touch, every voice from the van. He could still hear the one man's whisper, low, angry, frustrated. This isn't him. He could still feel the fist in his ribs. His wrists still burned from the zip ties. He barely slept. 2 days dragged by in a haze of confusion and fear. He kept expecting the police to call back, to say they found something, anything, that proved his story. But the phone never rang, until it did. The call came on a Wednesday afternoon. "This is Detective Alvarez. We need you to come back in." Elias's heart dropped. "Why? Did you find something?" The detective paused before answering. "A teenage boy was abducted last night. A wealthy family's son. His name is Lucas Ray. His parents said a van pulled into the driveway and grabbed him." Elias froze. A white van, a mistaken identity, a ransom kidnapping. Suddenly, his entire story made horrifying sense. At the station, detectives looked different, less skeptical, more focused. Elias repeated everything he remembered. This time, he spoke calmly. The drug had worn off. His memory sharpened. He described the voices, the limp of one of the men, the smell of gasoline, the sleeve tattoo, the burn scar. Detectives began taking notes furiously. "Wait," one said. "Say that again." "A limp?" "Yes," Elias said. "The man with the rough voice. He limped." Detective Alvarez exchanged a shocked glance with his partner. Elias didn't understand why until Alvarez revealed. A man with a limp was caught on camera near the Ray family home around the time of the abduction. That was the turning point. Police finally believed him. Elias felt a mix of relief and dread. If his story was true, Lucas was in danger. Real danger. Investigators asked Elias to come with them to the marina. He stood on the gravel where he'd been dropped off. He pointed to the tracks. He described the direction the van left. Forensic teams collected evidence, tire marks, chemical residue, footprints. As they worked, Elias found himself scanning every shadow, every boat, every rusted fence. His nerves were raw. Every sound made him flinch. Detectives retraced his potential route. They calculated distances. They checked gas station cameras near the marina. And then they found it. A man with a limp buying fuel at 2 a.m. near a white cargo van. Elias felt his stomach twist. That was him. That was the man from the van. Police matched the van's movements to abandoned industrial zones near the riverfront. They canvassed warehouses. And on Friday night, they found what they were looking for. A warehouse door slightly ajar. A muffled scream. A chair scrape. Before Elias could fully process it, police stormed the building. Inside, in a dark storage room, they found Lucas blindfolded, wrists bound with duct tape, bruised, exhausted, barely conscious. He had been kept in the exact conditions Elias described. If Elias had not insisted on telling his story, Lucas might have been lost forever. But the kidnappers had fled minutes earlier. Inside the warehouse, police recovered evidence: masks, syringes, tape, maps, and a discarded jacket matching the one Elias had been wearing. Now the police had indisputable proof. Elias had told the truth. In the days that followed, Elias returned to the station multiple times, recounting every detail he could remember. Each detail fit the pattern. Each detail helped narrow down the suspects. His description of the burn scar and tattoo led investigators to identify the kidnappers: Ronan Briggs and Ezekiel Hart, both with prior felonies. Over the next 3 weeks, police tracked burner phones, followed fuel purchases, and traced the van's movements across neighboring counties. The investigation intensified. The media picked up the story. Elias's name wasn't released publicly, but the implication was clear. Someone had been abducted by accident, then released. Someone had been ignored by police. Someone had nearly died because of mistaken identity. Elias tried to move on, but he couldn't. Nights became terrifying. Every sound outside his apartment made him jump. Every van made his heart race. He double-checked locks. He barely slept. He kept the lights on. He had become a different person, one shaped by fear. When the arrests finally happened, Elias felt both relief and guilt. Relief because the men who abducted him would face justice. Guilt because Lucas had been the intended target. He kept thinking, if they hadn't grabbed me first, would Lucas even be alive? As news spread, Elias returned to the police station one last time. Detectives thanked him. Some even apologized for not believing him sooner. He nodded, silent. The apology felt hollow. The damage was done, but Elias wasn't angry. He was tired. Bone-deep tired. Months later, during the trial, Elias took the stand. His voice trembled, but he spoke truthfully. The courtroom was silent as he described the van, the voices, the injection, the warehouse. He saw the kidnappers sitting at the defense table, whispering to each other. They didn't look like monsters. They looked like ordinary men. That realization chilled him more than anything. Elias testified for nearly 4 hours. When he finished, he felt as though a weight had been lifted from him, a weight he had carried since the night of the abduction. The judge sentenced Ronan Briggs and Ezekiel Hart to life in prison. Lucas's family thanked Elias personally. His mother hugged him tightly, tears streaming down her face. "You saved my son," she whispered. "You saved him." Elias didn't feel like a hero. He felt like someone who survived a nightmare he never asked to be a part of. But he nodded, accepting her gratitude. Years passed. The fear faded slowly. Elias moved to a quieter town, found a new job, tried to rebuild his life. But the memories stayed with him. The darkness, the voices. The moment he realized he wasn't meant to survive, he would always remember the whisper in his ear. This isn't him. Elias lived with the knowledge that he had been kidnapped by mistake, and survived only because of that mistake. The truth was strange. The truth was terrifying. The truth was almost unbelievable. And that's why no one had believed him at first. But the truth doesn't need to be believable. It only needs to be true. If you find this story interesting, do well to hit the like button and subscribe for more interesting stories on this channel. Thanks for watching.